I'm a 59-year-old man battling cancer. I'm gonna be okay. Well, that's what the doctors say. But what I did not expect was getting kicked out of my own home by my stepson, who says that I'm not welcome here anymore. And, it might sound a little crazy, but that's because I haven't given you guys all the details of this absolute wild drama that I'm here to explain to you. For some people, trauma ruins the rest of their lives. And for some, it becomes an inspiration to leave something meaningful before you leave Mother Earth. For me, it was the latter. Hey, I'm a 59-year-old man suffering from cancer. My whole work was good during life, and my personal life was a bit traumatic. I was a psychology teacher before I was diagnosed with cancer. Along with teaching, I have a small business, which became my main source of income after I left teaching. I'm not going to go into too many details right now because my concern is something different. One of my friends said that this website might be able to help in this kind of situation, which is why I'm even here explaining my situation in the first place. In my early 30s, I had a family that consisted of my wife and me. My mom used to visit us sometimes before she passed. My wife had schizophrenia, and at a very early age, she's no more. So I could not extend my family, and after my wife's passing, I suffered from severe depression and even thought about taking my own. But one day, I was on social media and saw a little girl with schizophrenia. She looked so innocent and delicate that I felt a wound in my heart, and she was going through the same thing. It would get worse day by day. From that day, I decided to donate my money and do something for the children who were suffering from a serious illness. I had a little and too much money for my own living, as I had no one to spend it on, so most of the money from my income was donated to charity. This was how I've been living for more than 2 decades until I was diagnosed with cancer. I had to leave my job and use the money for my own treatment. I do have a few friends whom I can trust, but they helped me get through my own treatment. Getting married again never really crossed my mind. I haven't even fallen for anybody until I met a woman in my cancer rehabilitation center. Her condition was not as good as mine. I've always seen her coming for treatments alone, and she has that fragile look that I could not ignore. We became friends, and our friendship grew day by day. We used to share all of our stories, and I was lonely by choice, and she was lonely by force. She had lost her husband about a decade ago, and she got married to her father's friend's son. It was almost like an arranged-type marriage. Both of them were popular, complete opposites. I'm telling you. She thrived on a normal life where her husband was after money and alcohol. He was rich. Both of them have a son. They have him after trying for several years, so it goes without saying that he was spoiled by the both of them. Well, soon, however, the son picked up his father's behavior. Not the money, not the money. It was the addiction. One day, his father was having a small party with his friends, and his wife saw one of his friends get drunk and try to offer a drink to her 9-year-old kid. His father laughed about it without taking any steps to stop them, and since then she had tried to discipline her son. But every time the son informed his father, he would scold her for it. So she became an enemy in her son's eyes. His father died because of the drunk driving and left a huge amount of money under her wife's name. As the son grew older, he abandoned her. Not literally, but he didn't even care how his mother was doing or anything. He stays out for days and sometimes even months and only shows up when he needs money from her. He had problems with addiction. Drugs, alcohol, gambling. He's even proud of his attachment to drugs as he feels it's to be cool and healthy. He's refused rehab. His mother tried to refuse to provide money for his bad activities, but he would claim his father loved him more than she did, so she was no one to keep the money away from him. When she told him that she had cancer, he was emotionless. She needed a person to stay by her side after her chemotherapy, so she requested her son to take her and bring her home for that day, but he refused the request and tried to reason by saying that his father had left her lots of money. Why is she trying to get a free maid? I thought I was the one leading a bad life, but hers was way, way worse. However, I used to accompany her in the therapy and drop her home, but never once have I ever seen her son. He was always out, and day by day we became each other's support. One day, after her chemo session, she looked weaker than the other times, and I was freaking out for her. She had a harsh life where all her surroundings tried to belittle her, reject her, and ignore her existence. I wanted to give her a happy life before it got to be too late. Well, the next day, I asked for her hand, and we got married. She was happy and beaming since then and was thanking me for whatever I did. In all these, there was no sign of the culprit. She wanted to make a happy family, and I was adamant that I would convince her son to love her, at least to appreciate her. She didn't want to move out of her house because of her condition, so I moved in with her. As my house was not getting used, I discussed it with her, and we both decided that we would sell the house and donate the money somewhere. I was living with my wife permanently, and after about 2 weeks of our marriage, my stepson finally showed up. He was drunk, so he didn't make any effort to inquire who I was and went to sleep without saying a word. His mom was excited for a moment when she saw her son show up. Ignorance made her more vulnerable. I decided to talk to him. I thought that maybe he was like that because he had lost his father and never experienced a family that consisted of more than 2 people. So the next morning, he shows up for breakfast, and just by one look you can tell that he's a junkie. Finally, this time he asked his mother who I was when my wife introduced us. His first reaction was to scream at her. He said he can't believe that she would be like this when she was on the verge of dying. You know, such a immoral woman. Well, guys, that completely just threw me off guard. I told him firmly that he could not talk like that with his mother. And Thaddeus stood up, threw a dagger from his eyes, and went to his room. For the next few days, he would stay inside the house, which was odd, according to my wife, because usually he just takes the money and goes. This time, he had not even asked for money yet. I know something's bugging him in his mind, which is why he's here, and I could tell that he was spoiled because he was living in the house and he was constantly in his room, and he doesn't do laundry, can't prepare himself a cooked meal, doesn't clean, and won't get off the dang cell phone. He lives for drugs and friends, and however, I've never seen him doing drugs in front of me, and he does have an issue with food. He's only going to eat about 10 items. He isn't friendly or loving or even polite, really. His mother is silently obeying all his orders, and I can see that she's disappointed. I thought this guy really had some issues and needed some help, and he's already an adult now, so there's no point in disciplining him, but for the sake of his mom, I still decided to give it a try. As I was a psychology teacher, a situation like this bothered me the most. I thought clear communication might have been the issue, so I decided to go into his room and talk with him. I went to him, and he looked annoyed at my presence, and I calmly started saying how his mother was doing now, how we met, and how he was disappointed in his behavior. I even tried to make him feel guilty by saying his mother is not doing good physically, which was true. I also offered to help him get sober. He groaned and snapped, saying it's not about me specifically, but I'm just not a parental figure to him. So I should just shut my mouth, and I ought to establish a clear boundary. He's not interested in any conversation with me, no discussion, nothing. He said he knew that I married that old woman for money and I'm a gold digger, and clarified that he was also here for money, so I should not pretend. I'm a person who's sharing the living location, nothing more, and given I'm not a parent, I have no business getting involved in any major decisions of his. He's going to decide what's best for himself by himself, and that was admittedly very difficult for me, but nonetheless I eventually agreed to the boundary. I told him I'm not after his mother's wealth, and I don't know how much he even has in her bank account. Well, he snapped, saying I'm a good actor, aren't I? He said right now he could not even act on his own. Well, without his mother, because I was intruding in their lives and money. He's scared that if he acts badly with her mother's newfound lover, she might give all her inheritance to him out of anger. He threatened me for that now I'm living with him, but I have to leave soon or he'll make me. Essentially, guys, if there was a decision or general life situation, he did not ask for my advice, nor did I provide the advice to begin with. Yeah, you do you, because I'm just a man who happens to live here, and so I don't get a say in any of it. Again, as hard as it was to hear these words, I did agree. He wants nothing to do with me and has announced clearly and directed me as so. But the money-related matter is not sitting with me quietly. I explained to him what kind of person I am and made it loud and clear that I'm not after his mother's money, but no matter how much I try, he's not on board with it. He wants to see me gone from their life so that he can be more mean towards his mother and make her look more vulnerable. Well, I can't leave my wife in this state, and right now I am the only one supporting her. She knows the state of her health and seems to mind it, and after the threat, he left the house without telling us. One day, I took my wife for chemo session, and as she was not responding well to it, the doctor advised her to keep her in the hospital for supervision, just for 2 days. Well, I needed to bring some of her essentials, like her comfortable pillow, but I didn't want to leave her on her own, so I tried to call my stepson. He picked up, and as I thought, he declined with harsh words and told me not to call him again. I had no choice but to go there myself and pick the things up, and when I reached our house, I saw that the lights were on. Oh, it was a strange thing because my stepson was not supposed to be home. However, when I entered, I encountered not only my stepson, but also his group of junkie friends. I just waved my hand at them and went to collect the things I needed and proceeded to leave, but instead I got crowded by the group. Somebody commented that I am that woman's puppet, doing things without any sort of shame. Well, that's right. My stepson said he knew that I would come, which is why they're there to threaten me to leave my wife and her inheritance alone. They didn't even care about the fact that I was an elderly man. They proceeded to hit me. I pleaded with them and said that I had cancer too and I won't survive it if they were just hitting me to scare me. Some of them backed off at that, and I told my stepson that his mother was in a serious condition, and I was the only one who was helping her. He agreed that after my arrival, his mother would not bother him as much as she used to. Well, they let me go. I told him his mother was in a serious condition, but he didn't even care. Can money really make you that blind? Is it just drugs? I mean, one thing is true, he doesn't want his mother to be dead, or else he never would have let me go. But also, I don't know how an addicted brain really works. Another thing is clear, that he is not hesitant to harm me. On the other hand, I can't leave my wife's side in this situation. And on the other hand, I don't know how to convince him that I have nothing to do with his mother's money. I'm in a really messed up situation right now, so please, please help me. Comment number 1. I think your stepson is long gone. You can't fix him. He's only living for money and his addiction, and his father was at fault for everything he's doing now. His father had a superiority issue, and I don't know, but I feel like he was a misogynist as well. I'm sure her husband would name everything under his son's name if he were old enough. His father made it clear that he has no say in his son's matters, and his son also understands that his mother has zero power. You know, getting obsessed with addiction and feeling like it's cool is normal for teenage kids, but a strict action should have been needed in the early stages. Now, unfortunately, I think it's too late. However, as you have no say in it, it's up to your wife if she wants to discipline her own son. But keeping her situation in mind, she should not do anything drastic or it will stress her out. Also, I think you should not influence her to do anything or it might backfire on you later. I wish you good things and try to keep a safe distance from your son. Comment number 2. I'm sorry for your wife's situation, but please don't get offended when I say I blame the mother for your stepson's current situation. A mother should have been the one who disciplined her son when there was something going on at the underage. And she should have been strong enough after her husband's death to fix her boy. But she got scared after it and let the son do whatever the heck he wanted. She was the one adult, so she should be the one handling the matter, don't you think? However, I'm sorry to hear about your wife's situation, and I hope she's doing well and recovering as quickly as possible. Even though it's late, you can still try to make your stepson understand that money is not everything. Update number 1. Guys, please subscribe to the channel. I disclosed my story a few months ago, and I thank you for your opinions because you should know things are not going well. Everything has turned upside down in my life and it feels meaningless. My sweet wife, she passed away a few weeks ago. Just 1 week before her passing, I got my last chemo session and the doctor declared that I was free from cancer for now. Both my wife and I were happy with the news and the positivity made us hopeful about the situation that she was in. But guys, just after a week, She could no longer handle the chemo sessions, and I felt guilty that I got to live, but she did not, even though we had the exact same disease. Oh boy. We thought we would get through everything together, guys. We did. We thought, but it didn't happen. I was left alone, and my stepson made my worth known to me by showing how emotionless he could truly be. Some of you have blamed my wife for being the reason behind my stepson's current status. I think I've missed some points in the last update, right? When his father passed away, he was around 10. He was well aware of the position of my wife and his family, and after her husband did pass away, her father-in-law became involved in their life, and he was the same as her husband. Whenever she tried to discipline her son, her father-in-law would show up at the house and the next day and accuse her of being a heartless mother to a son who lost his father. His grandfather passed away when he was around 16 years of age, and since then he's gone from, far into his habits. I'm not trying to make my wife look like a victim, but when you don't have any support of your opinion in your surroundings, you gradually turn helpless and vulnerable. She was always weak-hearted, and those harsh behaviors from others made her weak. She accepted everything as her fate, however. I asked for advice on how to convince my son to believe that I'm not after his money, and some suggested that I should show him that I have my own money. So, I decided I'll do that. Before his mother passed away, we decided to show him my business. I have a shop for car equipment, to be specific, and I requested him to join me for just a few days. Without too much hesitation at all, he agreed, but long story short, he started stealing all my equipment and selling it in the black market just to get a bit of cash. So, it was a failure. He didn't even care what I was trying to prove. He just saw a chance to get money and jumped into it. He didn't even realize that if he had acted and accepted me as someone important in his life, he would have gotten the business under his name. But also, he's not somebody who wants to work for money, is he? However, he was still giving me the silent treatment and not care about my presence at all. But when his mother passed away, I saw his real vile face. He did not have any bit of remorse, which was killing me from the inside, because no matter how he was, his mother wanted only the best for him. I, on the other hand, went back to the phase when my first wife passed. I don't have any will to live. I don't know why it's only me who suffers from close people passing. The sad fact is that I could not even mourn freely because just after we came back from the funeral, I didn't even get to enter the house because my stepson threw my luggage at me and told me that I was not welcome there anymore. He said he enrolled me in an old age home and I could go live there, wherever he didn't care, and he shut the door in my face, and I knew something like this would happen. But I thought that he would hate me and just not kick me out. I also thought that he would do whatever he wanted to do after some time, and not the day of my wife's funeral. He's really heartless. I had no choice but to go to the old age home, as I had already sold my house and donated the money. It's been a week since I've been living here, and at least I can mourn in peace now. I've never thought my life would end up like this, and I thought my stepson had cut all ties with me, but since yesterday, I've been receiving threats on my phone to give me money. I'm sure it's my son or one of his minions. Nothing else has happened since then, thankfully, and I'll let you know if anything does, but please keep positivity for me. Update number 2. Hey guys, I want to thank you for all your condolences and for showing your concerns. I've spent so many sleepless nights and the loneliness was bugging me the most. Your comments somewhat have helped me look forward to living one more day. However, I'm here to update you on the matter as you guys were worried about it. Nobody has disclosed their identity in the matter, and I thought it would be better to ignore them. At least I'm safe and protected in my old age home, so nobody will dare to come and attack me. After a few days, I heard from my shop supervisor that my stepson came to the shop and tried to take the upper hand. He even acted like the owner of the place, but they shut him down. He gets mad and thrashed out at the store owner, and I rushed to my store, and my stepson was long gone after doing all this. So guys, I get a restraining order from him. What could I do? And since then, I haven't heard a peep. I'm curious why he would attack my store because he got what he wanted, and I have nothing to do with him now. Still, I decided not to indulge him in any kind of conversation. Also, After a few days, I sold my shop, kept the money for myself, and donated the rest. I'm already old, and I don't want to take the hassle of it. To be fair, I started liking my old age home. I've made friends here, and all of them have tragic stories to tell. I love spending time with them, and they also played a great role in getting me out of my depression after my wife passed away. We're all living here, living with a tragic past and a joyful present, and after selling my last bit of inheritance, the shop, I was penniless, but I didn't want my donating habit to die down. I don't know, I just feel useless without it, and I promised my wife that I would spend my life living for myself. But now I'm not feeling like myself at all. I talked about it with a few of my friends here, and they suggested I start writing, as I do have plenty of time for myself. Guys, I forgot to tell you that I used to write a lot when I was much younger. But depression and every sad turn in my life has destroyed my motivation, but as I'm feeling right now that I have nothing to lose, I thought I would bring up that old habit. My friends have been inspiring me to write. Their stories have inspired me to write as well, and if my stepson tries to get into my old shop again, he will realize that I am not the owner anymore. I think he's just trying to make my life miserable, that's it. Well, other than that, I don't find a reason for him to mob my store after kicking me out of his life. I'm looking forward to my writing, and I will let you know if anything happens. Update number 3. Hey guys, well, it's been a year since my last update, and I have so many things to tell you. I don't know if there's still any readers left from my last time because it's been a while. In my last update, I said that I would start writing, and I did. At the time, many of you guys wished me luck, and were happy that I had found something to live by. Thank you for trusting me. Your encouragement was my absolute inspiration, and I wrote 2 books, both of which are related to psychology and different mindsets, and the events in my life have helped me to write these stories as well. I want to disclose the names, and I'm sorry because I'm writing here anonymously. However, both books did quite well. Too well, I would say. I didn't expect it to be successful on the first try, and I attended some interviews to promote them, and I'm excited to say that my life is now right on track. I'm still living in an old age home. I do love it here. My friends are here, and I didn't want anything fancy in my life anyways. Life was peaceful for me. However, the fame kind of backfired on me because my stepson saw one of my interviews and realized that I had gained lots of money now, and I started getting these cryptic texts again. Not long after, he showed up at my place and he looked all ragged, wondering what he was doing now. He looked angry and tried to pounce at me, but my friends were there, so he couldn't do anything. I asked him why he was angry at me, and I did whatever he wanted. I left him. I didn't bother him. Then he screamed at me what he was up to the whole time, and apparently my late wife has left nothing for him and donated the entire inheritance to a charity. Oh, I'm so proud of her. She even gave away her home. So he had no place to go, which is why he mobbed my store. He was homeless, and still is, just as I assumed. He went there for a second time and found out I'm not the owner anymore. He couldn't reach out to me because someone told him that I donated my whole amount of money from selling the store, so he knew that I would be no help until recently. He must have found out that I'm pretty successful of an author, and earning pretty well. He blamed me for his situation at hand, and he said I manipulated my late life into this charity crap. And because of my influence, she donated everything and left him nothing. He said that I'm responsible for everything, which is why I have to give him money. Well, I refused. Of course I would. I told him that getting inspired by my viewpoint does not make me accountable at all, especially when she's doing something good. He was silent, and he had tormented her life. It was her type of payback. I told him if he had shown any remorse or kindness towards us instead of thinking of us as a money-making machine, both of our inheritances would have been his. But he blew it in his ego and his selfishness, and I couldn't help him for his situation and told him to go away. He still forced me and just straight up begged me, saying that he's addicted now and can't help it. Well, guys, hearing the chaos, a security guard came and ordered him to get out. He went out after threatening to ruin my life and take my money. He looks more desperate than he used to be. Seeing him homeless, it hurts me a little. I know it's none of my fault, but I still feel like his guardian. I don't know if I should give him money or not. Even if I tell him, he'll just spend it on drugs. He literally admits to it that he's addicted, and he can't help it. Please, help me make a decision. Tomorrow, I will announce that I'll give all my savings to charity. I'm scared that he'll ruin it, as he said he really would. Update number 4. Updating. After a few weeks, my stepson ended up in jail. He did not listen and chose the path of violence to getting money, and what can I do? When he had the chance, he declined to interact with me in many meaningful ways. For such a lengthy period of time, he treated me like a competitor in his mother's inheritance, and come on, when I didn't even know how much he had in her name. Well, but now that his wallet is empty, he suddenly has matters with me, and I still could have considered it. Even after all you said not to cause, it was too hard for me to see him homeless. I thought his mother would not want this, but at the same time, she's also the reason behind his homelessness. Anyways, however, I did contact him after he came to me. I offered to pay for his rehab and I'll guide him if he wants to rebuild his life, but it was not what he wanted. Even after so many downs in his life, it's still only the money that matters to him. He was still saying that drugs and getting high are the only things that he loves, and there's no way he'll go to a rehab center. I had no choice but to move on from him. I tried and it did not work. What can I do about it? I'd announced that I would donate my income from the books to a charity, and the charity I chose arranged an event for it. I always love donating without disclosing my name, but they have insisted that if I do it, it will inspire many more to do the same. The charity will get a promotion as well, so heck, I agreed. So before getting on the stage, I went to the washroom to freshen up, but suddenly someone tried to choke me from behind and put his hands over my mouth so I didn't make any sound. Fortunately, a group of men came inside and broke us up, and it was none other than my stepson. He was super high and blabbering and saying things like, "Give him the check." When I got free from his hold, I was left with bruises around my neck. Somebody called the police and took him in, and yes, the event went smoothly after that. I hope my stepson gets the help he needs, at least in jail. Definitely he has some kind of mental issue, and it's terrifying. If he had stayed outside, he would have killed me by now. The way he was moving day by day, it's not like he's not tried to beat me up before, but during that time, my wife was there to stop it also. He was kinda scared of the fact that he would lose his mom's inheritance if he did act poorly with me. Oh, the irony is that my late wife made her will just a few days of our acquaintance. I think she was trying to give her son a lesson, and after meeting me, she had finally found a way. By the way, guys, I've started working on my new book, and this time, I'm attempting to write a romantic novel, and I'll dedicate the entire thing to my late wife. Wish me luck. Comment number 1. Thank you, you're safe. And your son is safe too from the outer world, because a money-hungry man who doesn't want to get better should be locked up for the sake of everyone else's safety. I don't know how he's really heartless. He's like his father and grandfather, but worse. At least his father was into making money and was obsessed with it, but his son is a big fat loser. He didn't even want to work, and after all you've experienced and suffered because of him, you still offered to help him, but he's a moron to bypass the opportunity, so jail is the appropriate place for him. Comment number 2. Parenting is not an easy task, which is why I hate that everyone wants to be a parent and they don't know how to discipline their child. The father, the grandfather, and mother were all responsible for what happened to the kid. If he had turned out bad in his adult age, it would have been different, but he has been like that since childhood. Well, they made him absolutely heartless, showing him the easy way of making money, and it's all their fault.